On today's video, we'll look into a scenario in which the German Empire returns. And right away, there's an alliance created in Eastern Europe. Which looks like this. Not that much of a threat. And also, for this, we're going to kick Russia out of Crimea. Sorry. But now it's our time to do the next part of the video. Well, German expansion into what they want to add to them. They call it German, basically Bohemia. German Bohemia in Austria. And they claim this because, well, they want these lands to reform their mighty lost empire. And, well, we need to make the advances way smaller because that'd be like instant. With them quickly marching towards Vienna, and Austria surrenders right after, as Austria falls into German control. Next is for Czechia, with Czechia starting to fall under German occupation, which they do rapidly become under. And Germany annexes all of this, creating German, Greater Germany, basically. Now, they need an ally. Who's better to be an ally for when they have to face a bigger nation? Who's the best? Oh, this alliance just got expanded into the Balkans. Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia, Romania, Slovakia. And, well, Moldova, they all joined to stop Germany, but they don't realize Germany has been planning a very strategic operation, an operation to make an ally, basically. Italy refuses to be their ally, so they need to take matters into Germany's hands. And with Germany taking this into their own hands, well, a lot is about to unfold. Well, they come in from Germany, and they move south, quickly taking Venice. Then they move down, as their forces move in to take Genoa and a few other cities. Well, they quickly move into Rome, with managing to create a German-Italian puppet. And unfortunately for Italy, they lose a bit of land. This is Tyrol and access to the sea. Who knows what the point of this is? With Italy knowing what this is about. But since there's a puppet, there's nothing they can do. They can claim it if they want, but realistically, there's nothing they can do. And now let's give them the puppet of Italy. I'm sure that's a helpful ally. With them becoming blocked behind another alliance. A strong one, though. France, Iberia, Benelux, Denmark, and the Nordics. And them becoming the strongest alliance, but Greenland declares independence with German help. And well, Germany's ready to go east. How do they start the war of the Eastern Alliance? Well, they decide to invade Poland, the Baltics too. As long as putting forces up against these nations to hold them back. And well, they end up at war with the whole alliance. With them giving Italy control over the Balkan front, their puppet, as they take control over the northern front completely. With them quickly rising in Poland as they quickly move in and take, well, Warsaw. And at the same time, they start their advance into the Baltics. Now, they're definitely being resistance here, but we don't need to show that. With Riga having fallen, quickly after Vilnius falls, and then quickly after they push up and take out Tallinn. How did the Italian puppet go? Well, they managed to advance quite significantly into this area. With Germany now taking the opportunity to begin the invasion of Ukraine. With Russia aligning with them with the goal to do some stuff to Ukraine. No one's happy about this, but there's nothing anybody can do. But just sit and watch Russia begin their operation. With Russia's operation going well, with Lviv following on the German front, with Russia's front rapidly expanding, with Russia being at war with the alliance as well, with Germany beginning the Hungary and Slovakia campaign, quickly taking Bratislava, then they take Zagreb, then they move into not Belgrade, Budapest, and they take it. Serbia getting attacked. With Romania being promised Greater Romania if they join, and more than just Greater Romania. With them quickly moving in to take over Moldova. With the German forces moving in and taking Kiev. With Russian forces crossing the Dnieper at this point. And while most of what's left becomes Russian, and Romania's invasion of Serbia successful, quickly taking out Serbia, with the Germans finishing off the rest. So let's see how the peace treaty goes. Their neighbors to form Greater Romania. With the rest becoming puppets, Italy gains a bit of land here, Germany gains a bit of land to fix the borders. The Baltic puppet state of Polish, Ukrainian, Slovakian, Hungarian, Croatian, and Serbian puppets have been set up. Russia took a big chunk out of Ukraine. These lands went missing. And so on. Well, after this, the alliance that was protecting Europe expands rapidly with Finland joining. You might be like, that's pathetic. Nope. Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro. Yeah. With the expanding into Algeria, Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, the Caucasian states. Well, looking like a chance that Russia could start this. Yeah, no. With Israel staying quiet. I wonder what they're doing. I guess I probably shouldn't ask the question. How does this war start, you may be asking? Well, Germany decides they want a bit more. Yes, they declare war on the whole Mediterranean Sea, basically, and all of the Baltic Sea, and basically the Gulf of Finland. You might think, oh, they're definitely in trouble. Like, how are they going to be even stoppable? With Russia deciding to do some Russia stuff and move into Finland. But let's see how Germany's and Romania's initial advance begins. With Germany rapidly moving its forces towards northern France. And the Benelux nations, with the Benelux nations falling, and France being brought to its knees. With them quickly moving into Denmark to take the ground here, and while Italy and the Papists take over Bosnia and they focus on these nations, with Romania focused on Bulgaria to push them down to there. And well, you might be saying, okay, they're not going to win. Yeah, you might have missed something. Does this remind you of anything? Yes, Big Boy Russia's back. Big Boy Russia. And they ain't worried about anything. Let's see how it goes. Let's start in this area. Well, yeah, it doesn't look good. Them moving into the Caucasus nations very fast. As they move down and take over Baku. And then they move into the south like this. They continue their advance. And well, they advance all the way to here. And then the collapse begins. As they start a front against Turkey. Okay. And they're not exactly aligned with the Germans. Sound familiar? Although, unlike what it's referenced to, they do much better. They become the competent version of what they could never be. Because they're big boy Russia, not Russia. Big boy Russia. That's a pain to look at. With Finland ending up at war with both nations. With none of the other nations wanting to go to war with the Russians. They focus completely on the Russians signing peace with the Germans. Well, the rest of the nations start to see if they can negotiate with Russia. Well, let's see how the Balkan front's going. Okay, Romania is currently pushing towards Istanbul at the Straits. They're trying to take over the Straits, the Bosphorus Strait. And then they move into northern Macedonia with using this to get into Greece. They start the invasion south into Greece. Well, yeah. This front doesn't look great for the Greeks. The Italians advancing. So you might be saying, so are they just going to win? And I'm like, maybe. And one side wanting to deal with big boy Russia. With Finland only at war with Russia. And Evray refuses to help them on top of it. With them falling all the way to Helsinki, and then their major populated areas around Helsinki start to fall. At this point, Finland is on life support. With Finland being brought back to these nations as they decide, well, no, it's too late for them. With the Northern Campaign by Germany beginning. With them landing in southern Sweden and using this advantage to quickly move into Stockholm. Well, then they quickly move into Oslo. Of them refusing to surrender. And it going very well for them. With them being pushed all the way back to here pretty fast. Into the north. With Finland by Russia's front. They're not exactly an ally. And well, Germany, needing to prevent them from overexpanding, advances all the way to here as fast as possible. Why is it so fast? Because it does become very fast. But the Northern Front becoming under German occupation, basically. Well, now, for this front, with them being at peace for now, can the German Empire stop the Russian Empire? With them having a surprise up their sleeve, an alliance with Ireland. With the British laughing and saying, yeah, this isn't going to do anything for you. We'll take them over in like 2 hours. Well, yes, Ireland gets revenge. Long live Ireland! Well, they move in deeper. At this point, Paris has officially fallen. With France on the verge of collapse. And well, with the Italian puppet deciding to land into Spain. As militia after militia, as Greece collapses. Why is Greece collapsed? Because they're weak. Their economy is even weaker. With the Turkish campaign beginning. With these islands being captured quickly. And they quickly, Romanian troops as German troops arrive, and other troops, they quickly move into Turkey. With striving to take a lot of lands. You know who else is striving to take a lot of lands from this front? The Russians. They're at war with, but not aligned to. And well, this is how it goes. With Ankara falling, and well, the front becomes like this. And in that time, the front for these guys became this. With this alliance realizing they're going to probably collapse. Well, the Russian front does a different thing. Russia tries to negotiate its way out at this point, so let's see the peace treaty between Russia and the blue team. Perfect timing to intervene. Yes, Russia's planning it. With this big landing by Italian forces, while Germany starts to take a better advantage. With Barcelona falling and Catalan areas quickly captured, they cross the coast, France becomes encircled, France surrenders. Spain, with a landing in, well, Tunisia, leading to the collapse of Tunisia. It quickly leads to the collapse of, well, what's it called? Libya. Libya collapsing. I'm just going to use this for if they collapse but aren't fully occupied. With Algeria losing its capital, Algiers, and then they start moving into Morocco, with Algeria collapsing. With moving into Morocco, taking Rabat, and then they take over the rest of the land. With Egypt getting invaded now, and they quickly move into Alexandria, taking it. They quickly seize Suez, then they capture Cairo, and then they take all the Sinai Peninsula, and then they start taking more of Egypt, with Egypt eventually surrendering. But eventually, these nations all fall under occupation of the German Empire. Yes. You heard that. They all fall. They all fall down. With France also being part of this group, along with these two nations. But with the Spanish front being about to close, with Ireland negotiating with the British to help them if they get Northern Ireland, and by that I mean they leave the war. They'll leave the war for Northern Ireland, and they won't help anyone but the British. They'll send volunteers to help the British in return for these lands, basically, with Ireland being revisioned again. Well, the Germans laugh, saying, "We're unstoppable. No one can stop us. We rule the waves. We are the best. This time we're going to get the peace we want." And Russia's like, "You sure about that?" And they're like, "Yes." You want to know? Plot twist, I declare war! You thought I was your ally? You fell for this trick again, you Germans! You act like you're so smart, yet you fall for me each and every time. You thought I was weak last time? Well, I'm giving revenge to you. And while the British are like, please say what's going on. Are the British getting the Russians to join them? Are the Russians attempting to push them out of the Baltics? Are the Russians being a fool to negotiate? With the Russians kicking the Germans out of Poland and multiple areas. And then they move in to take Romania out of the war. With Romania ending up leaving the war because, well, they can't win. Russian forces occupy these lands that they've taken over. They plan to annex some lands, with them not invading the Germans directly yet, because they're still trying to iron out this front. But with the Romanians out, it's very weak because there wasn't many Germans to begin with defending it. The Romanians had kept the Russians out, basically. With some occupied territories overthrowing the rule that's already in. How did they manage to do that? Well, yeah. There's no way else being cowardly enough to leave. The Germans attempting to get negotiations with the Russians, but the Russians keep advancing. They take Berlin, and they keep going, with the Germans offering peace again, and the Russians calling it not fair. With German occupation here being tough, because the Germans are holding the front well, with British forces entering here, quickly moving into Oslo, but instead of it being an easy advance, the Germans continue fighting despite these becoming apparent. With German forces realizing, as they fall out of the north, at a big cost to their enemies, as the northern campaign is a success. With the Germans agreeing to negotiate with the Russians under Russian terms, but the Russians are like, okay, this is going to be fun. As the Russians do this to leave the war completely and get what they want, because the British won't. So let's see the peace treaty, fall of Germany. With Germany being forced out of these bunch of nations, which are planned to become great again. With the French and British quickly moving in to get to Berlin. And they quickly move into Berlin and take it over, and then into German Poland. Well, the German Empire collapses. The new government being created to go to peace. Yes, a republic. If Poland needing to regain independence and a few other things. So let's see this quite significant lands, with Hanover being freed. Poland is freed despite being in two. Hanover's free, Schleswig-Holstein's free, Bavaria's free, the German Empire is greatly weakened, France annexes quite a bit of land, up to the Rhineland and then more, then they create a small puppet, with Britain also gaining quite a bit. And well, this is what's left to the German Empire. Just that red area. And even more humiliating, Austria takes land from them. And, well, yeah. And the Soviets managed to annex Poland as they bully them around. Well, Austria, they want to take this back, they want to take that back, that back, that back. And, well, that's all for today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Wild Mapper out, and until you subscribe.